we go. Welcome to the Austin Downbeat. I'm Kat, your host. So happy to add some international flavor, metaphorically and literally, because she cooks. But Giulia Millanta, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'm trying to think. I don't know that I've had anyone on that's from another country originally, and certainly with like an accent and like the real thing. So you're the first. It took me 90 some odd
Yay.
episodes.
Well, I'm glad you finally got me.
I know,
And
and I have Italian roots. I have very strong roots in Catanzaro, which is in
yeah.
what part? Where is that? In the boot? In the
That would be well, the boot
Calabria.
is the whole Italy. Yeah, you will be in the tip
Yeah, down in
and
Calabria.
of the foot.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So from one Italian to another. Um,
absolutely.
yeah, so you're coming on tonight because you have a new record that just came out very recently called Only Luna Knows. How's that? The baby is out into the world. How does it feel to have it out and released for people's ears to hear?
Well, to be honest, it just feels it's not my first one, and now I don't want to sound jaded or like, oh, I don't care, I've been around the block, but there's so much work and expectations and so much leading on to the release. Then when the record is actually out, I'm like, all right, the record is out. It's not even mine anymore in
Yeah,
a way. Like, it doesn't, the songs don't belong to me. The songs at this point belong to the rest of the world and to the listeners, and they will decide what they want to do with them. And
yeah.
obviously I hope that people like it, and I'm getting great reviews,
Mm-hmm.
both from the States and Europe, so that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. How,
But I'm not attached. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like,
mhm.
I'm so glad I did it, and it was a great experience. And now hopefully people will like it and enjoy it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's nice. It's refreshing to hear something in another language. You do a mix of English and Italian, which is so beautiful. And your voice is gorgeous. So it's a really beautiful album.
Thank
I
you.
highly recommend it. How do you know when an album is ready to happen? Like, how do you know it's time to do another one? Because, like you said, this isn't your first rodeo. This is, so I understand what you're saying there. But how does Julia know it's time to do another one?
Well, Julia is slightly restless, so Julia, I'm always doing something. I'm always coming up with new things to do, and I noticed, like, I've been releasing records every 2 years. This is my number 9, and
Mhm.
at 6 ever since I moved to the States.
Mhm.
And they're all like 2014, 16, 18, 20,
Mhm.
22, 24. Like, so it probably is like some sort of internal clock that I have, that at some point I'm like, okay, I released a record, I toured. Now I'm gonna write some more songs. And
Mhm.
not because I don't plan it, but it's
Mhm.
kind of it's kind of been hungry. Like, you eat, you let it, you digest, and then at some point you're like, oh, I'm hungry again. And
Mhm.
so, you know, it's kind of like that. I don't put too much thought into it, but then at some point I'm like, okay, now I really want to, I have this itch that I need to scratch. I want to write more songs. And I write pretty much, you know, even when I just release something new, I keep writing. I always write, but there's a moment in time in which I'm like, okay, the record has been out. I've done my touring. I really want, maybe it's because I've been in that time, I accumulate more things that I want to share. I don't know, but it kind of happens physiologically in a way, and so I start writing new songs, and then I'm like, okay, I think I want to record them.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes sense. It's like we have our biological clocks, you have your musical clock.
Right. Yes. I guess that's it.
Yeah, there's a real theme looking back on some of the things that you've put out. There's a recurring theme of the moon. Can you can you talk a little bit about what, this latest record's called Only Luna Knows? And then looking back through your prior stuff, I'm noticing a bit of a theme. So what is it with you and the moon? Hmm. What is
Yeah.
going on?
Uh, what's going on? Well, I think it's a number of things. One being that I'm kind of a night owl and I
Mm,
really like to moonbathe. I really
mm,
like to just sit there and stare at the moon. I think she is beautiful. The moon is feminine in Italian and
mm,
it's feminine, I
mm.
mean, obviously, but
Yeah.
I just like to I just like to sit under the moon. I
Mm,
like how gentle it is. I like silver. I like the color. I like moonlight. I like the whole rhythm of it and how it beautifully um, moves through the month and it affects so many things. I'm a woman, so I feel it.
mm.
um, and also, yeah, I'm a night owl, so I like to be up at night. And also, on this, specifically on this record, the title track Only Luna Knows, it's kind of I call Luna my best friend. It's mostly like as if I was talking to a friend of mine,
Mhm.
and 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 I realized that these past years that I spent mostly in Austin, but also touring and then going back and forth with Europe, the moon has become a little bit of my point of reference.
Mm,
Like,
mm,
because things can get a little confusing sometimes with jet lag and moving from a place to another. And I have friends here, friends there, and family, and so the moon is that quiet presence in my life at the end of the day where I'm like, oh, okay, and I'm
mm,
here, and there's the moon, and it
mm,
feels quiet and kind of grounding in a way.
mm. Yeah, it's your sort of your constant, right? No matter where you are, it's gonna
Hmm.
be there. Yeah. I love that.
Yes.
I love that. That's really beautiful. It's poetic and it's so true, it feels like you could have a friend in the moon and a confidant and sort of this relationship where um you could tell your secrets up into the sky. I personally, I don't have the same love affair with the moon as you do, but I similarly, the night sky and the stars is kind of that for me. So many
Yes.
times when I've really kind of been at a breaking point or just at a place where it's like, I just go outside. And it's a real reminder of how small I am, but also
Hmm.
how big I am too. And it's like in my life and how powerful we can be, but also such a reminder of just this little blip that we are.
Yes.
And I love
Yes.
looking up at the night sky. I feel such peace doing that, finding my favorite constellation, Orion. And, it does kind of feel like a point of reference. Like, okay, the stars are still there, the moon is still there, I'm good, everything is as it should be in some way, shape, or form up there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. 100%. I
Yeah.
feel exactly the same way.
Yeah, it is such I hadn't really I haven't thought about it in a while because it's just sort of a thing that I do. I don't know that I've ever really talked about it, but I do love stepping out into the night sky. There's something so
Hmm.
just beautiful about it. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Um,
Plus,
yeah.
there's so much magic at night, like the darkness, and that's the time where we all allow ourselves to be a little more intimate, to communicate things differently, to
Mhm.
whisper our secrets, whether we do it to a friend or to a lover or to ourselves or our pets, like it's
Mhm.
that kind of, we all feel more protected in the dark in a
Mhm.
way,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not really a night owl per se, but I do feel the difference that you're saying between day and night. Energetically, I love the morning. I love waking up
Hmm.
when it's still dark and the smell of the coffee that's already brewing. Thank God for like programmable coffee makers. I love, love, love that in the morning. But then I slip out of that, and then my day sort of takes me, right? And so, yeah, you're right. When you come back to the nighttime, we can be a little bit more like shed a little bit off, right? And
Hmm.
that's when we connect with our people and we can sort of be vulnerable and tell the truth, you know?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
I love that.
100%.
Yeah, that's so cool. Um, so you said it making songs and touring and doing that whole rhythm is kind of like eating. And it made me think of the fact that you also are, I'm assuming, a really good cook. You look like you are. I'm just going to trust that you are because everything that I'm seeing looks delicious. And I've heard people talk about you and the cool things that you do, like dinner with Giulia, like the parties and the music and stuff. Can you talk a little bit about that and how really seamlessly you seem to blend music and food, which they do go well, so well together. But I love that you're really putting the stamp of that
Hmm.
on your thing that you're doing here.
Yeah, well, it has become a part of, well, food is a part of everybody's lives, obviously, otherwise we die. So, and especially, me being Italian, it's such a part of my culture, and I never fully embraced it or realized it until I moved to the States. And that was a way, cooking food was a way for me to, well, to soothe myself, to comfort myself, to comfort other people, to take care of other people, to
Mhm.
create a community. Who doesn't want to eat
Yeah,
good food?
yeah,
Like, and who doesn't want to listen to music? Music, well, there might be people who are not,
hmm,
into my music or into music at all, but everybody's into food.
yeah,
I don't know a single person. And even when they're not into food, they still have to eat.
right.
So
You can't
it's
escape
kind
that
of
one.
a, and so it became a way, especially as I said, after moving here, to really take care of myself and the people around me. And also it's for me, I like to cook, and I cook for myself, um, as a way to just chill. It relaxes me.
Hmm.
Is a way to do something with my hands, because most of what I do is, yes, I mean, I play music with my hands, but it's not tangible. It's still, I'm creating something out of nothing, and it's still a nothing because it's nothing but vibrations. Music is not something you can touch. And so I like this aspect of my life to where I create something, whether it's for me and for my dinner alone or for other people, but I create something that is tangible, that
Mm,
I can put my hands at. I like, I make focaccia and I make pizza and I stick my hands into the dough,
yeah.
or whatever. It's relaxing, and it's also like really grounding for me,
Mm,
and
yeah.
it's creative. And then, I started doing the dinner with Julia really by almost accident, because I was running a Kickstarter campaign in 2014, and the highest, Kickstarter to support my, to fundraise, to raise funds for my record. And the highest tier was, okay, you give me X amount of dollars, I come to your house, I'll play the songs, and I'll cook dinner. And I threw that in there as if, since I do this, I'm going to cook for you. And then before I knew, this thing became became a thing, where people were like, word of mouth, like, oh, you cooked for such and such. Would you do that for me? And so at some point, word of mouth, I started doing it. So dinner with Julia became this 4 or 5 course Italian meal that I prepare, and a house concert.
Wow.
And I really hardly ever advertise. I mean, I post things. I put, I share my I don't really share my recipes, but I share pictures of them.
Don't give it away. They got to buy the book.
No. Uh-uh. Um, so, but I don't really advertise for it. It's just mostly word of mouth, and people are like, "Oh, I like your music, and you cook. Okay, come over. Let's do this."
Yeah. What's
And
the
then, yes, I
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, and then I also put it in a book because people started to ask me about my recipes and whatnot, and so I published a book called Dinner with Julia that has my lyrics and my recipes, but not all of them, obviously.
I
Uh,
love it. And so I know it shows like you did a Saxon pub, I think, for the release of this album, and it was so cool. I saw your merch table, and it's so neat you can sell your album and then also be selling cookbooks. I feel like it's such a you're really hitting people on, multiple senses, right? Watching you perform, listening you perform, eating your food or cooking your food. Like it really kind of rounds out the full expression of what Giulia Millanta offers. It's really cool to make that available to people.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. I hope so.
Yeah. So what do you have coming up? The album is out, it's ours to hear. Now do you start touring a little bit? Now we're in springtime and summer is coming. Is that generally the
Hmm.
flow that you'll start to do some touring?
Well, kind of, yeah. I'm going to New York next week.
Hmm.
I'm playing New York City, and then I'm playing another show outside of New York. I can't maybe Connecticut. I can't remember. And then I'll be opening for 10,000 Maniacs at the Paramount in the Hudson Valley.
Hmm.
Then I'll be back. I have a ham benefit event in which I will be cooking and playing music.
Hmm.
And we're raising funds for ham.
Love him.
Then I'm going to California. Then I'll be back. Then I'm going to Chicago, Ann Arbor area to play
Hmm.
a few shows. So yes, there's a little bit of touring, and then I'll be in Italy for the summer
Nice.
because
Because
why
it's
not?
so hot here, and if you cannot be here in the summer, you should not be here. It's the perfect time.
Yes.
And where in Italy are you from?
Florence, Firenze.
Oh, I had a little apartment in Florence, right in the Duomo Square. Yeah, like right
Oh,
above, like on the second or third floor in the Duomo Square, above a restaurant or bar. This was ages and ages ago, but yeah, I've spent some time in Florence. Loved that city so much. It's so gorgeous, and the people are so great.
it
And
is.
yeah, I mean, it was just magical, magical. What made you choose Austin of all places? How did you land here?
Well, I met people from Austin.
Hmm.
Um, I knew people. I had heard about Austin for years before moving here, because of South by.
Hmm.
Some friends, musician friends from Florence, were coming to play at South by Southwest, and so I've always been curious. And then I knew people. I met people from here, and I came to visit. Obviously, there was also a guy involved.
There was his.
And so I came to visit, and then I came back and visited for a little longer, and then here I
Yeah.
am. It's
And
been 12
how
years.
12 years? Okay, yeah. For me on Saturday, it'll be 11 years since I've been here. And it feels it's so interesting because like for the first few years, I was like, oh, I just got here, just got here, just got here. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, I've been here
I
a
can't say
long
that
time.
anymore.
I can't say that anymore. Like I still want to say like,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, I just got here. No,
I
we're past
know.
that. Goes by
I
so
know.
fast. Yeah.
Oh my God. Where from? Where are you from?
So
Where
I
did you move
was,
here from?
well, I was born on the East Coast, so on the Canadian border, the water border of Pennsylvania and Canada, and on Lake Erie. And then I grew up in Santa Barbara in Los Angeles, out in California. So most of my life I've been in California, although I'm not from there. Yeah, and then moved here, had two little kiddos, moved here to kind of have a little more space. I was working in television and wanted to raise the kiddos kind of outside of Hollywood and all that madness. So
Hmm.
mission accomplished. And so yeah, we're here, and now they're teenagers, and it's like they say
Oh.
y'all, and I'm like, what? We don't say
Ah,
y'all. It's really funny.
I started saying y'all because, why not?
I kind of
When
refuse.
in Tex, when in Rome, do like the Romans do. When in Texas, you say y'all.
I know. I'm a little bit of like a nonconformist. I just can't get myself to do it, but my kids say it enough for me, so that's fine. Yeah. That's too funny. Wow. Well, I'm so excited to get a chance to meet you. I've been hearing your name and seeing your stuff all over the place for, the last couple of years of doing this show. So it's nice to finally get you on and
Hmm.
wrangle you and make it happen. So I appreciate you taking the time and coming on.
Thank you. Absolutely. It was my pleasure. And hopefully one day we'll meet in person.
I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will.
I'm
We're
sure we
both,
will.
yeah, out and about. Well, in the meantime, you catch Juliana or Julia, sorry, as when you can. I know you're doing a little bit of a tour, but when you come back here and there, are you going to do some Austin shows?
Yes, for
Little,
sure.
okay.
I don't have anything on the books right now. I'm gonna have something at the O4 Center.
Oh, sweet.
We're still talking about the date, so but it
Yeah.
will all be on my website and my Instagram. So for
Yeah.
those who are interested, just
Yeah. And
they
I'll
can
help you.
follow me or. Mhm.
I'll push that stuff out too when I see it. The O4 Center is a great place to I would assume do a
Mhm.
show and also see a show. It's a great venue. I love that
Yes.
spot. Yeah.
Hmm.
Awesome, Julia. Thank you so much for coming on. That does it for this
Yeah.
episode. We will see you next time. And Julia, we'll see you out there somewhere in a place where you're playing.
Hmm.
All right.
Awesome.
Bye.
Thank you.
Of course.